Hey guys, welcome back. So this is a new video. So in this video what we're going to be seeing is a new way of solving problems. As you might have seen in the start, it's called the recursive method. So I really like that method to solve some kind of problems which are like this in this second problem in the Project Euler archives. It's called the even Fibonacci numbers. So I'm pretty sure everyone knows what's a Fibonacci number, but I'll still say what is a Fibonacci series. So Fibonacci series is like you add the previous two terms to get the given term. Like if you want the third term, you have to add the second and the first term to get the third term. That's how the Fibonacci series works. So let's say the Fibonacci series starts with 1 and 2. Like the first number is 1 and the second number is 2. So automatically the third number would be 3, which is 1 plus 2. Then the next number would be 2 plus 3, which is 5. And so on. So it's given the 10 numbers are 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 and so on till 89. That's the first 10 numbers. Now taking the terms in the Fibonacci sequence whose values do not exceed 4 million, find the sum of the even valued terms. So the last number which you got to check exceed 4 million and you have to give the sum of the even valued terms. So what is the recursive function? So I'll tell you what is the recursive function. So how the recursive function works is like, okay, for example if I say what is the fib of fifth term? So the fifth Fibonacci term, you would say give me the fourth and the third Fibonacci term. Fibonacci term. So now what's the fourth Fibonacci term? Fourth Fibonacci term is the sum of the third and the second Fibonacci term. What's the third Fibonacci term? We know that the third Fibonacci term is the sum of the second Fibonacci term and the first Fibonacci term. And the question already says that the sequence starts with 1 and 2, which means the first term is 1 and the second term is 2. So the first term is 1 and the second term is 2. So 2 plus 1 is 3. So that's the third Fibonacci term. Now the third Fibonacci term. Now what is the second Fibonacci term? We already know that is 2. So what's the fourth Fibonacci term? 3 plus 2, which is 5. So that is, we get third plus the second. 3 plus 2 is 5. What's the third Fibonacci term? Similarly we can do it this way and we would get it as so what's the second Fibonacci term? Is 2. First one is 1. So 2 plus 1 is 3. So 5 plus 3 is 8, which is the fifth Fibonacci term. Now does it satisfy the two conditions given in the question, which is that it should not exceed 4 million and it should be an even valued term. So when you say what's an even valued term? So 8 is an even term and it's not more than 4 million. So that's the logic behind what my function would be. So what we will be doing is we will find the Fibonacci term. Like using this we'll find the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth Fibonacci term. Like in this case, which is 8, which is the fifth Fibonacci term, we'll find that and then the two conditions, which is it should not exceed 4 million and it should be an even valued term. So we check the two conditions. To get the Fibonacci number, we'll be writing a separate function other than the main function we'll be writing. Now we'll see how we implement this logic into a Java code. So as you all know, to write a Java code, first you have to define it in a class. So we'll name this class as problem2. First let's name the main function public static void main when you write any Java code, you have to make sure that it has a main function for it to compile. So any Java code can only be compiled if you have a main function in it. So now we need to give the sum of the even valued terms, because that's what the question asks us to say. You have to find the sum of the even valued terms. So now to store the sum, I'm going to declare a variable called total. So we'll say that's a long variable, because int has a limit of only storing a maximum of 10-digit number. You cannot say that the answer will be 10-digit number, because the checking condition, the final number, like the checking condition, it should be like less than 4 million, because it's 4 million is already the 7th digit. You cannot be sure that the sum of like bunch of numbers, like a lot of numbers, to not exceed 10 billion. So just for safety, I'll be putting it as a long. So when you define a long, the data type should be given as usual for any variable, be it integer, a string, character, or anything. You have to give the data type before the variable. So for that, I'll be giving long here. The only difference when it comes to a long and an integer is this capital L after 0, which indicates that this is a long number. Now I give int I to be 1. Now why I'm giving I to be 1 is because that's the first Fibonacci term. Like for example, so what is this Fibonacci exactly? It's a function that I'll be defining here, which what it does is it's given an integer, it will return the Fibonacci sequence. Like for example, if you give it 1, it will return 1. If you give it 2, it will return 2, because 2 is the second Fibonacci number. Give it 3, it will return 3, because 3 is the third Fibonacci number. 5, if you give it 4, it will return you 5, because 5 is the fourth Fibonacci number. 8 is the fifth Fibonacci number. 13 is the sixth Fibonacci number. So that's what this function will do. I'll name this function public static int called, and I'll name it Fibonacci, because that's what it's supposed to give me. And I'll say it is so what these keywords are, public is it's named so that all the functions inside this class can access this function. You're naming it static because you have named the main function static. That is, any non-static, like be it a function, be it a variable or something, any non-static function or a variable cannot be accessed by a static function. So main is a static function. So since we'll be using Fibonacci inside that, we name this also a static function. Now this is named int because Fibonacci will be returning a int. That's what the function is. Like it will be returning a int value, so we'll be naming it int. Now this is the name of the function. So that's how the convention of any function is. If you look at even the main function, that's how it works. So public is so that any function can access it. Static is because it's like it's storing the value and it's not for always being there, so it's named as static. And main function is always named as static. That's you have to keep in mind. And you name the other function static so that main function can access it, because a static function cannot access a non-static function for its usability. Now when you say void, it means that it won't return any value. So you can think of a function like a box. You will give it a value. The given value is given in the parenthesis. So when this is the value that you'll be giving inside that box. So you give this int I inside the box, and what you'll be getting will be specified here. What data type is that return value? When you say void, it means that it won't return anything. When you say int, it means that it will return an int variable. And inside this parenthesis, you have to give two things for one variable. Like for example, like I'm giving I as the variable name and int as the data type of the variable. So whenever you define this function, you have to make sure that whatever you give inside the parenthesis has to be integer. So for example, if you look at this, so this is the same function, and whatever I give inside this, you have to keep in mind that that has to be integer. So that's what the function works. So inside this, what I'll be doing is, so I have to return something. So to store the return value, I'll define a variable called int answer and I'll assign it to be 0 for first. So you know that Fibonacci, if it is 1, the variable is 1. It's always 1. There's no change in that. And if it is 2, it is 2. So that's fixed. So that's called the base statement. But what if both of these conditions are not satisfied? That's when the logic which I explained earlier comes into place. Like if you see here, we have clearly stated that if fib of 5, what it should be? It should be 5 minus 1, fib of 5 minus 1 plus fib of 5 minus 2, which is 3. So similarly, what you'll be doing is, so if you look at that fib of 5, Fibonacci of 5, what will be? Fibonacci of 4 plus Fibonacci of 3. Now then, since this function is all recursive, means that you'll be defining the function inside the function. So this, it will be again defined. So it will go here, it will check what is fib of 4, it will be fib of, it does not satisfy these two conditions, you go here fib of 3 plus fib of 2. What is fib of 3? It will go here, come back here, fib of 3 is fib of 2 plus fib of 1. Now what is fib of 2? It will go there, it will check I is 1, so it should return the answer to be 1. So fib of 1 is 1. So fib of 2 is 2. So it will work in the similar way that I have explained. So when you give the number like 1, it will find the Fibonacci and it will check if it is less than 4 million. If it is less than 4 million, and I'm going to check it using a if statement, if answer modulus 2. Now using the arithmetic operators, you might remember what is a modulus of 2. Modulus 2, and in the previous video also I've explained it. Modulus 2 is like when you divide 2, what is the remainder you get? That's mod. So to use modulus in math, you use the symbol percentage in computers. So if modulus of 2 is equal to 0, what it means is that when you divide the number by 2, it should give you 0. So when does a number when divided by 2 gives you 0? When the number is even. So now if it is even, what I'll do is I'll say total plus answer. Now this is the basic logic, it's there. Now one more thing you have to keep in mind is that every time you check whether it's less than 4000 or greater than 4000, once it's less than 4000, it will go inside this loop and you'll check if it is even. If it is not even, or even if it is even, you have to increase the number to get the next Fibonacci number. Only if you increase I, so I'll say I plus equal to 1. So that means I is equal to I plus 1. That's what this logic is. So when you run it, it will increase the I value. So from 1 it will become 2, then it will become 3, then it will become 4. It will keep on going until this while statement is stopped. Now I have used a lot of functions here like while, the percentage, the what else? There's the data type called long, the functions, the recursive and all that. So in the previous videos I have clearly explained how a while statement works, how a percentage symbol works, how this particular statement, which is the increment operator, it works. So please do go over all the previous videos to understand what I have explained inside this main function. The only difference I have made is I have defined a new function in this, which is called as a Fibonacci, and I've used the recursive. So once you like slowly get the grasp of what is done here, it's a bit messy and all, if you like go back and look at it, you will be able to understand how this statement works slowly. So what I'll be doing is now I'll save the code, and as you all know, whatever the class name is, you have to save it like that. So since the class name is problem2, I'll save it so problem2.java. That's how I'll be saving it. So once this code is saved, I'll go to my folder and open the command prompt using the term cmd, and since this is called problem2, I will, to compile it first, I'll say java c problem2.java. I've compiled the bytecode and then I'll run java problem2. This is the int. I've stored it as a long. You can use int also. I'll go and say the answer, which is 4613732. So let's see, 4613732. Hope it will check. So given a check, so it is correct. That is the correct answer. That's how this problem works. If you still haven't got it, please do go over the video, slow it down, take a notebook, write it how the logic is working, and try to grasp it as much as possible. And if it still seems to be a bit hard, leave a comment in the comment section. I will surely get back to you, and I'll read the comments every day, and I'll surely check it. If you have got it, please do give a thumbs up and like the video. If you have not, please do leave a comment section, and I will try to solve it and will help you understand how this logic works. So thanks a lot. Please do watch the other videos. You like, comment, share and subscribe to this channel. I'll be posting more such videos on Java and how to solve the program, the Java theory of it. And thanks a lot for watching this video. Hope to see you soon in the next video. Thank you.